We've all had that experience where we tell someone we work for a car dealership and they take a step back. And that's because the stigma around dealers and dealerships is incredibly misplaced. Now, we in the industry understand that car dealers and people that work at dealerships are some of the most caring, generous, empathetic leaders on the planet. And so we've set out to change the narrative forever. More Than Cars is a network-style docu-series that we've produced a pilot episode. We have 7 more episodes to make, and we're calling on this industry to get behind it. The people who love people more than they love cars, the people who are ready to push back against the narrative. We're asking you to join us in this campaign to fund season 1 of More Than Cars. Who knows where this is gonna go? You might be watching it with your family on Netflix, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, but it doesn't happen unless we band together to make it right now. So we hope you will join us in making the first season of More Than Cars. All right. Come on. It's like something about dealers banding together. Sounds familiar. We're getting ready pregame for Memorial Day weekend. Ford and Tesla going steady. Buttons instead of screens in airport toy stores. That's not a variety show.
What in the world is happening on Friday morning?
Dude, this Friday is all in. I came in so hot this morning into the office because we're getting emails about the More Than Cars premiere. We're getting emails about people that want to shoulder up next to it and be a part of the funding structure or be the show premiere sponsor or sponsor the season or dealers that want to be on. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool moment.
It's really neat. You put all that effort behind something and then it goes out and you kind of hold your breath and then things just start steadily happening and people get behind it. And look, I don't care if it's 5 or 500 people, the way that people are commenting or leaning in or caring for our industry and challenging the narrative alongside of us is just really cool. We've said this isn't for us. This is for our industry, right? That's what More Than Cars is. We just have the time and the space to put the energy and intention behind sharing the story of this great industry.
Man, if you don't know what we're talking about, that thing we ran at the beginning, go to morethancars.tv, docuseries style network show that features the inspiring stories from inside dealers. We premiered it last week or earlier this week, feels like last week. And we're crowdfunding it. It is the first ever crowdfunded initiative within retail automotive, because we want other people to fall in love with this industry like we fell in love with it. We need $500,000. So if you do the math, there's a lot of people in this industry. We can do it. We need your help. Go to morethancars.tv, be part of this, and there's a lot of perks and fun and undying gratitude. But we have some news to talk about today too, don't we?
Let's get into it.
A couple of things are happening today in a landmark move toward EV infrastructure unification. Ford announced a deal with Tesla. Ford and Tesla to access, so Fords can access Tesla's Supercharger network from 2024 on, which will actually allow Ford vehicles to be parked in those beautiful Tesla spots. And appropriately, this was announced with Jim Farley in person and Elon Musk in person on Twitter Spaces.
What is this world? We got DeSantis running for president on Twitter. We got Ford and Tesla announcing stuff on Twitter.
But the platform's not relevant anymore, Kyle.
Not relevant.
Are you kidding me?
On Twitter.
So basically, the idea of this deal is that Ford will adopt Tesla's proprietary charging standard. How about that? Wow. Right? It makes sense, right? It's the biggest one. It's really cool. I think CEOs tend to have egos, right? It's just kind of one of the reasons that they make great CEO, right? And for Jim Farley to be like, hey, this makes the most sense to serve our customers, to serve the charging network. It's a really cool thing. So we'll give a couple more details, then we have commentary. So Ford EVs are fitted with the combined charging system CCS port, which will be able to access Tesla's version 3 Superchargers. But 2025 on, it's just the same standard. It's like the Ford truck will plug right into the Tesla charger.
Talk about being the center of an industry. Tesla just being like, yep, everyone's just going to adopt our charging network.
Super cool.
And the wild part for me here is I can't wait to see an F-150 Lightning.
I knew it.
Right. That picture in front of the Tesla
next
charging
to a Model
network.
3. I know.
It's gonna be sublime.
Well, at least they gave
Great.
himself enough time, so at least there'll be like an F-150 parked next to like a Cybertruck at that point. Like you got to even that out. But I know today there's probably a collective groan from Tesla owners. It's like, can you imagine if like the iPhone owners all of a sudden were like, we're gonna let all the Androids use your stuff, right?
Yeah. Like all the Androids are now on the lightning port, which is like,
well, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, except for in UK they got to use the USB-C.
USB-C. I know, but there's no inconvenience there. See, with the Tesla, when a Tesla owner pulls up and like, man, the good old days.
There's like 5 Fords blocking all of those things. It's like, oh.
But it's a great step for the industry. I think it's a great step for the charging infrastructure. And I think that this is going to be like kind of a watershed moment where pretty soon, like if Ford has done it, right? It just takes the first big one to do it. And before you know it, it's going to be GM and Toyota. Like there's in the US, especially, there's going to have to be, this critical mass, which is going to make everything go faster.
Well, I think it's good for the industry. We were talking about earlier this week, there's this kind of announcement on creating the charging network that the government's got its foot in and trying to figure out with all these major manufacturers and charging networks. And so there has to be some level of standardization. Because if like when you go to a gas pump, that's one way to put gas in your car, or maybe a second with diesel, right? Slightly different nozzle, but
won't fit though.
Think about like, oh shoot, I can't stop there because I can't even plug my car in is a wild proposition when we're trying to create the infrastructure to bring EVs into the consumer, like the wide adoption consumer matrix. So absolutely necessary. Kudos to Jim Farley for putting aside the ego for just a hot minute and partnering. And hey, look, Twitter Spaces. Who knew?
Speaking of things consumers find necessary.
Segue.
I like this one. I'm on board with them. So goodbye, frustrating touchscreens. Hello, old friend. Buttons are back. Physical buttons, like tactile buttons. Responding to considerable consumer dissatisfaction, several leading car manufacturers are reversing the trend of like these intricate touchscreen interfaces that have now become standard in so many of the new vehicles. Notably, Porsche is leading the charge by bringing a lot of buttons back in 2024 to their Cayenne model, Nissan and Hyundai. It's a Slate.com article. I think it's the first Slate.com article we have ever included in the show.
I love it.
But you gotta go and read it. It's a very like consumer facing article about how consumers push back against the lack of buttons in cars. And so Nissan and Hyundai are also celebrating the article for resisting this big touchscreen trend and still leaving a lot of tactile buttons. I mean, I had a Kia Telluride, it was my last vehicle, and I love the fact that they had the right buttons. Like touchscreen still did a bunch of stuff, but I could get to all the things quickly. So in 2013, National Highway and Transportation Safety Administration, they recommended that a driver should not have to look away from the road for more than 2 seconds to complete any desired task or function. Wow. Without a max. I mean, you think about that. You look down 1, 2, like that's not
happen.
That is. Oh yeah. And then they also were kind of generous, I thought, and the task could not take more than 12 seconds total. So like look down for 2 seconds, look back up, look down. I mean, that seems very gratuitous.
It is very gratuitous. Like that's a long time. And I mean, we were with a dealer back in January showing us around their truck. And it was just like, look at the amount of time that it takes me to change the air conditioning settings.
We were driving from one pace to another. And you're like, look at this thing.
Yeah.
Look at this.
It was like at least 5 touches just to get to the place where they could get the air to where they wanted. And so that's a dangerous thing. And also it's not native. Like we think of touchscreens as being very natural and native, but they do take our attention to engage with them because there's not like, the old, like I think about the old T9, right? The phone, and apparently
you're pretending that everyone knows what that is.
Well, no, apparently it's coming back with the kids. They're like all finding these flip phones. I'm telling you right now, go look it up. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. Just ridiculous stuff. The 90s are coming back. They're all wanting these flip phones. But
dude, that was the 2000s.
It's very easy to understand where you are, right? And you can almost start to like on the Mazda, I love it because it's got this like command center. It's 4 buttons surrounding a knob.
Oh yeah.
And I can literally do everything now. Like after probably 3 or 4 weeks of having used it the first time, everything I need to do with the navigation or anything like that, I don't have to look down, because you start to recognize the tactile positions. And so that's a lot different on a touchscreen, because your brain has to remember space and less tactile. And so I love the move from manufacturers. I think coming up with the right things to put on the touchscreen and the right things to put in tactile positions is going to be extremely important. Let's more technology we shove in these. Yep.
Volume, up and down radio, on and off.
Yes.
Climate control features.
Give it
up, down, temperature, shifting the car in general.
Yes.
Right. I don't want to touch a screen to do that. Oh, there's definitely more. Heated seats.
Gotta be quick.
Gotta be a button. Come on. I don't need 2 presses on that.
Has to be a button.
And so,
there's 4.
There's a lot more. But the point, here's another kind of like rub. Everybody says like you can't look at your phone while you're driving. You get a ticket for that. Instead of that, let's put it on a giant tablet. And let's make your car totally complete, reliant on you looking at your phone. Why don't we just put it on our phone interface instead of the tablet? Why can't I just control my car on the phone? Whoa. What's the difference?
Wow.
There's no difference. But, it's kind of been a windfall. We talked yesterday about automakers reducing parts and from vehicles. A touchscreen is actually the cheapest way to add functionality. Oof. Think of how much it is to like just build it into the software. Right. Or like I have to put a button, I have to design the button, place the button, run a wire from the button to the module. Button. Right. Yeah. All that is stuff that breaks. Right. And so it's been pretty cool. Look, we're advanced. It's like, actually, this just got so much cheaper.
Yeah. Because we went a little historical on you and went all T9. Well, speaking of being a little historical on you.
Historical.
Stop. Segue.
Time. Think about your childhood. All those that were children of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and that iconic 2000s. Toy store that you just remember as being the most wonderful magazine to hit the inbox. Toys R Us wants to help you make good of those layovers with a new store in Terminal A of the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, making its first ever airport location. First of all, I can only imagine like all the business people, right?
Lots of suits in a Toys R Us.
Strolling into the Toys R Us, just getting all nostalgic, right? Sitting on a little rocking chair or something.
Kids.
Yeah. So the store is going to feature a life-size 3D giraffe and an array of top brand toys, scheduled to open sometime for the 2023 holiday season. Even more genius. It's like, oh, you're traveling, forgot the last minute gift.
Oh, man.
Toys R Us.
And if they're super smart, they'll just make it really easy for you to buy something there and just have it shipped to your house.
That's exactly what
they should do. Scan this, have it shipped to your house. Done. Christmas shopping is going to happen. When I was thinking about Toys R Us, I don't know what your interaction with Toys R Us was, but as a kid, that was where you had to go like get the new video games, like the Nintendo games. And they had these little ticket systems where like they had the items, but they didn't have them stocked on a shelf. You had to pull a little ticket and walk all the way up front to the counter to get the ticket claimed. I don't think it's going to be anything like that. But, so Toys R Us was bought by WHP Global, several years ago, went bankrupt. It was kind of like a big deal at the time. And this is a great example of brand nostalgia and how the IP around a brand outlives the business model of the brand. Right. Because they did such a good job building brand. I don't want to, we can all sing the jingle. Right. And now it's in the airport again. So I'm excited about it because layovers are terrible if you don't have something good to do.
Since the acquisition in 2021, the company has increased its footprint by 50% by just introducing the Toys R Us store in Macy's locations around the country. So, man, I think tying this to like, okay, why does this matter to me as a dealer or as a dealership? Think about it. You've got an opportunity to pop up, show up where consumers are most. And how do you integrate your brand, integrate your shopping ability into places where people already are? Because that's where people shop. It's like being online everywhere, showrooms everywhere. Why not start to create these partnerships with your OEM and figure out where to put these pop-up shops? Because that's going to be the ability for you to way outkick your coverage as far as your SOA is concerned.
That's so good. Well, we are on our way into the All Things Used Car Clubhouse room David Long's All Things Used Cars. Search it on the Clubhouse app. We'll see you over there. In the meantime, visit morethancars.tv. Check out the crowdfunding link. See how you can shoulder up with us to make this series a reality, and call your industry partners and OEMs. Tell them that they really should support it too. We got to stay together on this.